My name is Sephora Pruitt. I'm with the Nocturnal, and I like to talk about Bat. Congratulations on a new show.
Thank you so much. It's been a while. I feel like yesterday, because that's when it launched. I felt like a whole year packed into a day. So I'm just like, a little bit dazed, but so grateful and so excited that folks are getting the chance to see the show that we cared so much about creating. So yeah. Thank you so much.
Of course, there's been a lot of Netflix live action adaptations of anime, and this is the next one. I know that this is inspired take from Kakaguri, and so I'm curious to know, were you familiar with the manga and anime adaptation before you joined the cast of Bet?
Absolutely. You hear about the amazing classics that exist out there if you're into any type of anime or manga. When I was told, I was like, oh, that's wild. We were auditioning with sites and stuff like that that didn't tell us, necessarily what the show was based off of. So when we found out, it was amazing. But, I feel like for me, as someone who deeply loves, the fictional worlds that I spend time with, I like to think of stories as relatives. Um, I like to I like to think that our role as a cast and a group of creative artists was to honor the spirit of the manga and the source material. You can't improve on perfection. That stuff is perfect. But what we can do is try to honor it as best as we can through, trying to not play less risky games of mimicry. I feel like the best thing for us to do is create something that is authentic, to create something that stands on its own, that of course grows from the same soil, but ultimately pursuing the question that we were gripped as a cast to explore.
That's a perfect answer, and I hope anime fans they don't get pushed off of this is a whole new take on this classic series, and that they'll be willing to just take it as is and the material.
Absolutely. You know what? And I was thinking about it too. Like I feel like if they have the chance to really, approach it with that open mind, being like, okay, like we're not trying to like burst into people's house and say like you can't watch your favorite show or read your favorite manga. You can only like be obsessed about us. We don't want that at all. I think for us, what we are interested in as a cast is doing as best as we can with the materials that we have to try to create a show that we hope people will love. I feel like what can get in the way of that is if you go in expecting it to be something that is faithful, something that is, 100% a direct adaptation. And the reason why is if you're like eating an apple and you really want an orange, and you bite into that apple, it doesn't matter how good the apple will be, it'll still be jarring because you want an orange. So it's good to have the mindset right. But again, I feel like it's so reasonable to love what you love and to also get a little frustrated and like be scared and protective of something that you cherish too. So I'm just like, heck yeah, we're the cast. We can take it. We understand where that's coming from. The world is wild as it is. So like, yeah, let people feel what they need to, and we'll be ready when and if they want to watch our show.
Okay, and hope every fan takes that to heart, honestly.
Yeah. And we're getting like a lot of beautiful comments from folks that are just like, yeah, like I put aside it being a direct adaptation, and I started watching it for what it is, and it's pretty good. So, if folks want to do that, absolutely wonderful. But if they want to hang out in that perfect world of Kakeguri, it's great. Continue to watch that. We want to support that. And again, we're cool. We're chilling.
I like that. Perfect response. And so, what do you think fans will love most about this new take?
You know, I feel like this central question of what we're exploring is really interesting. You know, when the odds are stacked, what are you willing to risk for revenge, power, or freedom? To me, that was like really interesting. And like, that's like kind of a question that you can throw out. But like, if you really think about it, like, what do you care about more in that circumstance? Is it power to escape a rigged system, freedom from it entirely? Or, the revenge for those that wronged you? I feel like for us, and I've been thinking a lot about this, Bet on its surface might be seen and maybe marketed as like a show for teens, for young audiences and whatnot. But I really feel like it's for the young adult inside all of us that never got resolution. The part that was promised maybe safety or fairness or that good things will happen to those that we love. And then we realized, oh, wait, that was just a gamble too. It was a wager, it wasn't set in stone. And I feel like, our show doesn't try to resolve that neatly, and there's that saying of like you got to heal the inner child, and then, once you do, then you got to work on that young inner adolescent, and they're angry. So what I'm excited for is for folks to feel seen, for them to feel like we're not trying to fix them or give them a thesis or anything like that, but just sitting with them. And I think that that's to me what was most healing and wonderful about this project.
Definitely. And it inspired me to take some risks too. Also, it's about like getting out there, standing for what you believe in um and also taking down, your enemies, but ha looking good at the same time and making friendships along the way.
Absolutely. And I hope too people when they see the show, they'll be able to also pause and kind of give props to themselves for all the risks that they're taking in terms of becoming someone. I feel like that's like the most risky thing to do is to be one thing and choose to become something else, to challenge, beliefs that limit us, and really explore our own potential and be in relationship with people in an authentic way. So yeah, I hope people will also feel like we're also looking at them being like, great work.
I like that a lot. Did you play a lot of games with the cast off screen?
Oh my gosh, yeah, we did. It honestly felt like I don't know if you're a road trip person, but like I grew up like going, okay, well, just imagine you're with your siblings, you're with your friends, you're in the back of a van, and like you're riffing so hard that like you're laughing to the point where you're crying and your kind of like cheeks are sore. That's what it felt like. And then Clara, in our cast who played Kira, she actually has this like note that she captured all the quotes and like the best bits. And for me, it was so funny to see that as more of like an artifact of this like longer process of us just like generally liking being around each other, and genuinely as well. But then also trying to be like, what the heck does any of those quotes mean? Like, I don't remember, like, it's so out of context, it makes no sense, but my body feels that same sense of joy. So yeah, we played a ton of games. We riffed really hard. And yeah, still smile about those weird non sequitur bits that we have that no one understands or could, I think, at this point.
I like to hear that. Sounds really fun. I love hearing about cat stories and, this being, just a fun adaptation, and with a lot of like, lore around it too as well. It's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, deep lore, and lore that we're excited to dive into and figure out how we can expand it, make it something that folks can feel is alive. That's also like sturdy too. I feel like good stories, if they're source materials, if they are what you're creating in the moment, they're pretty strong. They can't be broken or tarnished. I feel like they stand on their own. So yeah, it's really exciting for us to dive into the story as deep as we can.
You guys did a great job.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. We're like, yeah, we're all very stoked about it. So yeah, thank you.
And so, what was your favorite scene to film in the show?
You know, I write a lot of lists and I write a lot of notes in my phone and stuff like that. And I've been like trying so hard to pick one. Sometimes it feels like there's like an elevator door that opens in response to that question in my mind, and then like 10 people try to like scramble out to be like, it was this time. The first one that is able to get out, it's definitely not my favorite per se because it's hard to say which one's above the others. But it was when I got to film my first scene with Yumiko. We're in the library together, and it was just this beautiful moment where these two characters get to really meet. And I remember it was just Miku and I, as well as our brilliant team behind the camera. And we got to really take this moment to savor this part of the story. And it's like so wild when you're working with people who know how precious it is to be there, to know how precious that story is as well. And so, like, we're all in on it. And when you're in that space, it's like realizing that you're in a dream and you're in a lucid dream and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm not awake yet. Like I'm still dreaming. And then you try to just stay in it as long as possible. Time moves slower. The air feels like thicker. There's like a different consistency. And you just feel this like hum and this warmth. And for me, I really think about that a lot because honestly, I feel like that is just one example of that vibe happening on set multiple times. So yeah, I would say it was that one.
Well, it makes me want to be on set. I'm jealous.
I feel like everyone who watches a show should get a chance to be on set to just see like all of the goodwill and love that goes into it. And like, we're also like real people too, and most of us are like really anxious about like wanting to do a good job for people because we know the importance that stories have in our lives. We know like during the pandemic, like a lot of people reached for stories to kind of guide them through just how bonkers that time was. So like people love doing that. They're really serious about it. They play hard, they work hard, and it's really precious. So yeah, I feel like if people can try to find a way to be on set.
I'm definitely trying to myself, living in Los Angeles, take advantage of all the opportunities.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, okay. Keep me posted on that because I feel like that would be so wild.
Okay, I will definitely. Yes. Is there a scene later in the later half of a series that you're excited for audiences to see?
Yeah, I feel like there's so many. And I feel like it revolves around like different characters. I feel like we really start to see the pressure cooker of the show get turned up to high from like the mid-season onwards. And I don't want to do any spoilers, but like our writers and Simon and our brilliant like um, crew, they captured this escalating story with high stakes every single episode. And not only that, they're also capturing like real emotions. Sometimes they might be more animated, again, us tipping our hat to the original source material, but they are real. They are people going through this story. And like what I really love is I know that audiences will be able to sit with and, hold complexity. So they'll be able to see like some characters that come off, as sort of like, one particular way and there's not that much nuance. But when they actually look closer, because audiences do, they'll be able to see like, oh, that's just like a mask of a person. And it begs rewatching. It begs us to, as an audience, like actually give these characters the space they need to breathe before writing them off. So there's a lot of incredible depth that happens. And, that's throughout, but it really starts to pick up. And to me, that's when things get really electric, is you start seeing everyone's playing for keeps by that point.
Okay, yes. Watching this series, I just want to give a little taste for the people wanting to check it out. And yeah, I can see that a lot. We had a lot of depth to it. It was really incredible to see how the story unfolded.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you so much for saying that.
I mean it generally.
Yay.
Yeah. And I love how excited you are. Yes. And with the show being very fast-paced and having intense gambling scenes, how did it feel to film those scenes?
It felt like if surgery was fun. I've never described it like that, but it was like the amount of rigor that went into setting up those scenes with such high stakes was incredible. I don't think people really are able to grasp it or articulate it. I think they feel it in the scenes because like I don't know when something like I was watching it recently to be like, how did it turn out? And I kind of felt like my palms immediately would get like really sweaty, and you know, if you explain to me the rules of a game or something like that, I immediately forget and like get a nosebleed. But like you're drawn in to our sequences. You understand the rules, you understand the stakes, and it's really incredible. So when we were actually filming it, it was again really ferociously and rigorously making sure that we were hitting the beats that we needed to, that we were creating space for there to be play and spontaneity, and discovery as well. But also, we had such an incredible crew, you know, all the way from the folks like literally operating the camera to our production assistants, to the admin team as well. Like so much went into this, and you get to see just like the top layer, but that's lifted by an army of architects that created this this really beautiful story that we're all stoked about.
Like that. Definitely takes a team. And the top layer looks really good to me.
Okay, good. Yes, yes, it does. I completely agree. Thank you.
And my last question for you is, bet is all about gambling for big wins. What are you willing to gamble for?
Oh gosh. I feel like that is such a good question that I was like wrestling with Michael about. And you know, I think that there's like a moment when I was doing this show where I was just like, wait a second, like how many words do I say are all based around betting or taking a chance or risk? And then I had the uncomfortable moment where I was just like, wait a second, how many things do I know in my life are 100% certain? And I can't say too many things. So it made me start kind of thinking that, like, oh, Michael's sort of moral compass is an interesting part of the story. But I'm like, no, no, no. It's actually like the compass in and of itself is a wager. It's a best bet of what we think at the time is right and wrong. And sometimes that can shift depending on the circumstance. And really, it becomes this like larger game of trust. And, you know, you can take that from like an institutional level of, you know, what are we really searching for to provide stability in our lives? That those solutions are also just best bets. And also the personal ones as well. You know, concepts of who we are. And I'm not trying to get too like philosophical because I'm bad at reading. But you know, that sort of like inner conversation, that sort of, ooh, that's uncomfortable, but also very interesting, is what I'm excited to hear people kind of go through. I feel like for us, we created Bet not as a thesis, but as like almost like a threshold for people to pass through. You know, if they want to like hang out within this space, awesome. If they want to just walk right through and continue on with their journey, amazing. But I'm excited to hear, you know, what resonates with them. How does it make them see the world a little bit differently, and why?
This has been a very insightful interview.
Thank you so much. Yeah, excellent questions. And like
Thank you.
again, thank you for making space for this. And yeah, really excited to hear folks their thoughts on this conversation. This has been lovely.
Of course, I'm a big anime fan, and a lot of my friends are, and I can't wait to tell them about this interview, post it, and hopefully they'll check out Bet.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And again, such incredible questions. This has been so lovely.
Thank you. It was nice talking to you.
Yeah, lovely talking to you too. Have a good day.
You too. Take care.
See you. Bye.
Bye.